Once again, I stand here in awe of the caliber of this event and the character of tonight's speakers, with whom I've had the extreme pleasure and honor of sharing this lectern. After listening to their eloquent speeches, I have to ask myself, what the heck am I doing up here? How could the Muslim Coalition of Connecticut plan such an auspicious event as this, and then suddenly at the very end lower their standards? Maybe I'm the only one dumb enough to agree to speak after such a wonderful group of presenters. Last year, when I was asked to give the closing remarks at the leadership banquet, I thought, wow, what an honor. But as I listened to the speakers before me, I realized that they were using much of the same material that I had been planning to use in my closing remarks. I suddenly understood that being the last speaker of the night wasn't all that I thought it would be. So this year, when I was asked to do it again, I thought, well, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. To ensure that the other speakers wouldn't steal my material this year, I decided that tonight I'll talk about this year's World Series between the Kansas City Royals and the New York Mets. Just kidding. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Mark Miner. I'm a 12th generation Yankee. My ancestor Thomas Miner emigrated here from England in 1632. So I guess you could say I'm pretty much a typical American Muslim. Many of us are immigrants. It's just that some of us have been here a little longer than others. You might be surprised to learn that I have not always been a Muslim. Toward the end of December, I'll be celebrating my 6th year Shahadaversary, or the 6th anniversary of the day that I accepted Islam and became a Muslim. For well over 50 years, I really didn't know much about the Islamic faith. I couldn't tell you what the core beliefs were, what rituals were practiced, or even what holidays Muslims celebrated. That is, until my daughter Rebecca started learning about Islam as she attended college. She learned about and earned much more than a degree in special education from UConn. While she was there, she was exposed to a variety of people, a diversity she hadn't encountered back on Miner's Farm in Bristol. She learned about Islam. She shared this new knowledge with my wife and me. And as she was studying and obtaining her degrees, she was also studying herself and her beliefs. Rebecca accepted Islam about a month before graduating, before finishing her master's degree in education. Less than 2 years later, I too accepted Islam, and 8 months after that, my wife decided to follow suit. Rebecca's interest, her effort in learning, and then her desire to share it with her family created a domino effect. And as a result, I suddenly got a whole lot of learning to do. I'm 62 years old, and I used to think that when I retired, I would play golf and hike and generally spend my retirement years in travel and leisure. But now I realize that I have to get off my butt and get educated again. So much to learn and so little time. Growing up on a farm, I was quite familiar with the term cultivating. It means to promote growth of crops by way of labor and attention. It wasn't until recently that I really considered cultivating in the context of tonight's subject, cultivating our future. When I looked up the definition, Professor Google told me that it also means to develop or improve by education or training. So cultivating our future means to improve our future by way of education. The Roman philosopher and orator Cicero said, "Cultivation of the mind is as necessary as food to the body. It seems pretty straightforward. You go to school, get educated, get a job that utilizes your education, and voila, you've got it made. That's all you have to do. But that paradigm is no longer valid. I remember reading that instead of having a single career, working for a single employer, as my parents' generation experienced, young people can now expect to have 3 to 4 different careers and to work for many different employers throughout their lifetime. In order to achieve this, they will have to be lifelong learners. Learning is an essential component of the Islamic faith. In fact, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "The seeking of knowledge is obligatory for every Muslim." I love nature. I marvel at the complexity and intricacy of nature. It amazes me when I think of how scalable God has made his creations. Consider an atom with the electrons orbiting around the nucleus, held in place by some gravity-like force, and then the moon orbiting around the Earth, and the solar system with the planets orbiting the sun, and galaxies with millions or billions of solar systems like our own orbiting around a black hole. And who knows, maybe all those galaxies are orbiting around the origin of the Big Bang. Maybe one day we'll know. Without education, we would be little more than animals trying to survive. With education comes knowledge. With knowledge comes the realization that there is so much more that we do not know. And with that realization comes the desire for more education. Excuse me. I'm sure that every one of you has met at least one know-it-all in your lifetime. But remember, even that irritating know-it-all doesn't know it all. Albert Einstein once said, "Intellectual growth should commence at birth and cease only at death." So my advice for students: take advantage of your opportunities to learn. Become lifelong learners, not professional students. Your education should be used to support and further develop yourself, not to empty your parents' savings accounts. And my advice for those who are not currently seeking education: become a lifelong learner. Find something that interests you and dive right in. Cultivate your future. Thank you for coming tonight, and may God bless each and every one of us with an unending desire for knowledge. Thank you.
Good job, Daddy.